Mr. Cirillo, could you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice regarding this is the New Jersey Public Meetings Law following a news release to the Asbury Park Press on June 13, 2015, stating that a regular meeting of the Cold Snake Township Committee would be held on July 15 at 7:30 p.m. Town Hall. The notice requirements have been posted on the township website, and a copy is on file in the office of the township clerk.
Thanks, Beth. Roll call, please.
Committee Borgo,
Yes. Here.
Committee Macnow,
Yep.
Committee Fitzgerald,
Here.
Mayor Chapman.
Here. Committeeman Engel is away on business this evening. Item number 1 is approval of minutes from June 24, 2015. Any additions or corrections?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo,
Yes.
Committee Macnow,
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mayor Chapman.
I will abstain since I was not here for that meeting. Item number 2 is swearing in a fire police member, Paul Fournier. I've had a pleasure of knowing Paul and his family for many years, and we're honored to take care of this tonight. So the first order of business is I have the honor of swearing you in. So if you'd like to come up, Mary, if you'd like to join. Sure. I would love to bring it. There you go. Excellent. You're going to repeat after me. I'm going to say I. State your name. I
Paul Fournier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I solemnly support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Member, Fire Police,
member of Fire Police,
Township of Cold Snake,
Township of Cold Snake,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Attention to orders. Make your turn. Forward.
Chief, stay if you want to stay.
We got a meeting. Nobody.
Hey, Paul, do you want to take this picture? Have you seen this recently?
Thanks.
Remember that picture well. Thank you.
1987.
I don't know if your daughter Michelle knows you still have that picture.
Okay.
Show it to your grandchildren.
Thank you again for the board.
Harry, have you seen that? It's a picture from the first days party. Yeah.
1987.
I had to look twice to recognize your daughter.
Michelle, that was like a have this. Don't forget.
I should have done say something about it. And that picture. Yes. Then. Excellent. So we're always grateful to our many volunteers in the emergency services. Glad that Paul has rejoined the ranks, by the way, as Paul was on the fire department years ago, took a break as his family grew. Then he was on the first aid squad with us for many years, and now that he's recently retired, has joined the ranks of the fire force. Item number 3 is ordinance 2015-12, an ordinance amending chapter 68 of volunteer incentives. This is the first reading by title. So for many years, we've had this ordinance in place. This wording that we're doing now just firms up some wording as ordinances are looked at over and over again. This changes it to make it very specific to who it includes, especially when it comes to family members. The ordinance that has been in place for many years gives our volunteer first aid squad members and volunteer fire department members some incentives such as exemption from fees for municipal recreation programs sponsored by the Colts Neck Department of Parks and Recreation. There's a partial exemption from the municipal portion of the Uniform Construction Code and also some construction code fees. Just to let you know what's happened in 2015, some people that have taken advantage of this or these incentives. There's 9 campers that are enrolled in our recreation camp. There's been 3 exercise classes that our members have taken advantage of, and permits average about 4 per year over the last 4 years, excluding post Sandy, which has some additional ones. Any comments from the committee? Motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Longo,
Yes.
Mayor McNamara.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Shattuck.
Yes, setting public hearing August 19, 2015. Item number 4, which is ordinance 2015-13, an ordinance authorizing the leasing of certain capital equipment by the Township of Colts Neck, New Jersey, from the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, and the execution of a lease and agreement relating thereto. I'm going to ask the committee to table this. There was a few pieces of information we were still waiting on and thought we would get by tonight's meeting, and we did not. So I would like to put that on the next meeting.
Mayor, I would move to table that with, also as part of the consideration while it is tabled, section 2, paragraph A, I think this is probably somewhat dated. It talks about a bond not to exceed 5.5%. Quite frankly, if we go out at 5.5%, we're doing something wrong.
Correct.
So it should be, and I understand it needs some latitude, but 2.5, 3, 2, I mean, we should be around 1 right now, because the money's good and our ratings are great, so I just don't want to be in a situation where we pass an ordinance allowing them to do something we would be happy with.
Mayor, we only have one meeting in August.
Yes.
Okay. There may be a problem. Okay.
But it's that night they want this done.
Well, you can,
Table it.
August, you're going to table it, you're going to introduce it, at your next, in your August meeting, you will be able to adopt it to your September meeting.
Give me some suggestions.
You're going to have a problem.
Give me some suggestions.
Well, if you can help me with what the problem is, I can maybe help find a solution. You can change, if it's these 2 vehicles.
Yes.
So
I'm
I'm
wondering if you
authorizing an amount of money at this point.
That's what I was.
You can authorize the amount of money, and that will still, and you don't have to borrow that amount. All you're doing is locking in not to exceed.
Right.
And you will be able to go for less than that if you so choose. But you need to introduce an ordinance.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what I was
at the public hearing, quite frankly, based on what the public hearing brings, we could decide to reduce it that night in terms of the amount, or say no to it at that point in time. Having said that, can't exceed that, it's a not to exceed number, which is why the 5.5.
Right.
With that, I would, Mayor, with your indulgence, I would withdraw my motion to table and suggest we consider moving forward on voting for that ordinance as modify it down.
This will do nothing more than signal the county we're interested.
Correct, and that's what we have to get.
And locks in that you can go less than, but you cannot go more than, because then they're setting their total amount.
So the amount is not to exceed $325,000.
325, right?
And not to
So
exceed
what
5.5.
about the interest?
It's not to exceed 5.5, right?
That point, in all honesty, that's, well, we can,
If the county goes out and gets.
they're not gonna, it's not gonna be 5.5, so I'm not concerned about that. Because you don't have to borrow if it goes that high.
If they come back and say 5.5.
You're going not to borrow, you'll borrow it
Sell
yourself.
ourselves on that.
Do an internal bond ordinance,
Right,
the same thing, and get a better rate.
Right. So that's not gonna be an issue.
That's not going to raise it that quick.
I'm only familiar with this program because I happen to be involved in it in some other towns, so, and that's why I know the time.
Right.
My daughter is.
So there's a motion on the table?
There's my motion.
Not to exceed 325.
Actually, it shall not exceed
If we
325.
take a step back, I think we have, probably have to read it by title, which was not done.
You're right.
Actually, I did.
Oh, you did?
Did you read it?
I did.
Okay.
I started, I
Read
read
it
it
next
before,
order, we're going to take a little bit.
before I read it before I started talking about
That's
this.
in my error, and if that's a first reading by title, I have no comments, and I'll make that motion.
Yeah, that would be not to authorize the releasing of this equipment not to exceed $325,000.
Right, that's what it says.
All right, I second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Roberto,
Yes.
Mayor McNeil,
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mayor Shasta.
Yes,
It's just for the record, we did need 4 votes on that, but it's on.
that's why I asked.
Four to adopt, okay.
Next one.
Excellent, sorry about that.
No, I also looked at that date, so I was thinking along the same road there, which is great. We're just authorizing it, we're not paying for it. Item number 5, motion to approve consent agenda, resolution 2015-86, resolution authorizing recreation program refunds, resolution 2015-87, authorizing acceptance of special performance guarantee, block 11, lot 3.09, 5 Mockingbird Drive. Resolution 2015-88, authorizing release of special performance guarantee, planning board application number 565A, block 41.01, lot 5.05, for $15,000. And resolution 2015-89, authorizing fireworks display on August 20th, 2015, with the rain date of August 21st, 2015, at Colts Neck Fair. Deputy Mayor asked me about, does that include any funds, and it's not, it's just authorizing the display. That is something that's paid through the fair, actually through the sponsor at the fair. That's how that all works. Any comments?
Just one comment, Mayor. Having had this experience, when I lived in another town, I actually offered up, had the opportunity to offer up a house that was going to be demolished. And one of the performance guarantees that's being posted now is on the demolition of the house. And I know we don't have any ordinance, we can't pass an ordinance. But how could we incent or get the owners that were doing the demolition to see if our first aid fire or other volunteers would have an interest in using that in the near term? It's a great opportunity because you don't have to worry about, if they put a hole in the roof, it's of no moment.
Right.
And
It
it's
was
just
done within the last year, if I remember correctly.
The
fire department.
Done many years.
I can ask him. Chief Burke,
I just thought maybe
He's running it now. With
Talking about,
with my dad, right?
you might sit down though too, either one. You can check with.
No.
it's like maybe one of these demolition permits, and then we just give our first aid fire heads up as an opportunity because they don't usually get the chance. Not to bore you, but in the other times when they have canine, they did a canine, they did a tracking. Criminal tracking where they actually did it without telling the police department ahead of time. So that they did a, kind of a pseudo jailbreak thing where a prisoner was left from a van and they tracked it with a dog to a home. So it was pretty interesting.
What you are suggesting happens in a community I am familiar with.
I'm sorry?
What you are suggesting happens in a community I am familiar with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, maybe, and I don't know whether if we, when those permits come in for the demolition permit, if we just give them a heads up on that, we do that, but it's just a thought.
Make a motion on consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Longo,
Yes.
Mayor McEnroe,
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mayor Shatner.
Yes. We have some discussion items tonight. We'll start off with traffic light at Route 34 and Fallon's Road, Flock Road. Okay, great, sure.
Yeah, I was the precipitator of this discussion, and the reason is this. The intersection of 34 and Fanling/Flock is an intersection that I frequently go through, and I'm sure Mrs. Mann living in that area frequently goes through it. But at certain times, especially when Brookdale is in section, the traffic heading westbound from Fanling at the intersection with 34 is a major problem. And it's a problem because there's a straight and left-hand turn lane, and then there's a right-hand turn lane only. And the traffic that wants to go from Fanling westbound onto 34 southbound needs to make a left. And they can't do that, obviously, until the traffic coming across Flock clears. And what happens is the traffic backs way out from Brookdale, or sometimes even St. Mary's, and sometimes just on its own. Yeah, just because it's rush hour. And what people will do frequently is they will go straight in the right turn only. And I know there have been injury accidents as a result of that, some involving residents of town, and I've witnessed a number of very near misses, yeah, and high-speed near misses, because people get frustrated and they fly up that right turn lane. And they come across, and vehicles headed from Flock Road to 34 northbound making a left are now in the direct path of those vehicles coming across. So that issue, which is, I think, a fairly profound issue, and one which will lead to continued motor vehicle accidents, coupled with the fact that come next year when the work on 34 and 537 is going to be done, I think will lead to increased traffic through that intersection. Prompted me to make an inquiry through Tom to the DOT, because it is a state-controlled intersection, as to whether we could consider staggering the light on Phalanx and Flock. In other words, only one side be green at a time. So the traffic on Flock clears, that stops, and then the traffic on Phalanx can clear unaffected by the traffic on coming across Flock. And I also consulted with Chief Sauter just to make sure it was okay with him. He actually really likes the idea for the reasons that we're talking about today. And so what it will entail is, according to, I guess, a somewhat recently enacted state law, is a partial contribution from the township to make the change. And I guess we were given a number of 30 to 40,000, which we would be responsible for 25% of the cost. And hypothetically, if the number went up because of unanticipated wiring issues or some other nonsense that they're talking about, we'd be responsible for 25% of that. I know, to me, it's unfathomable that this could cost that much money, but it is the state, and I guess that's the way it goes. I mean, we're just talking about staggering the light, making it green one side, and green the other side. It seems like a simple thing, but I guess it's not so simple.
The engineering study and the new head, because the green advance is a special head, so whole stack responsibility, if everything goes well, would be between $7,500 and $10,000.
So the only way really to fund that would be out of our existing bond issuance this year, which I believe is permissible, because that's my understanding. So of the other amount of money that we're borrowing this year, and I don't recollect the number, my proposal is to find that bit of money out of there. I think it's a significant issue, and I think next year it will be a really significant issue when they're doing 34 and 537. Because the cut-through traffic is already there, but I think next year it's going to be really substantial. And it's going to become, it's a problem now, it'll be a big problem next year. Plus I think you're going to save people, ultimately in the long run, I think it'll save people's lives. And that's really what I care most about, especially our folks, because a lot of us travel a lot. So that's my pitch for that little bit of money.
No question about the money. The question is, why isn't the county paying? It's their road.
No, state, we already checked that. because it's a state highway.
Yeah, it's just-
Yeah, it's, yeah, I,
That's where the light's needed, it's not needed on the block roadside.
both, really. Yeah, both. We haven't approached the county yet, so.
Well, I'm just saying, but
When you have two roads that need higher jurisdiction, which has jurisdiction of the road, so that would be 34 in the state.
Yeah, I think he's saying, why doesn't the county kick in?
Well,
We could ask the county.
the county, back, prior township committees wanted to make it so that it was straight through the block road.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do it. Now, they're gonna rewiden this road and everything else. Part of this 34 problem should also be to fix that light, because everybody's gonna cut from Bucksville Road, come around, come out to Block Road, and it's gonna get worse by you can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's the offset of flock, that's the problem.
Yeah,
I just
we know.
know it's not one time, the problem is.
Right, it's not quite lined up.
Flock is here and fail is here, is what, if, my question is, how much would it be to
Straighten that out.
carve out?
We met, I think, Mr. Jim and I met with the county last year, about that, and it would be significant, it would involve taking on the Flock Road side. So the cost was much more
But
significant
the state owns 60-some feet there.
Not
Yeah.
flock road,
No.
not the offset of flock road.
on the Flock side.
But on the state side, the first, whatever it is, from the center road is 33 feet back, is there?
This is what the county
You
has done.
need a couple hundred feet.
It seems to me, and again, not being a traffic expert or an engineer, that the easy fix is to stagger those lights. It's an easy fix, relatively inexpensive.
But they don't do that,
Funny,
they don't do that with that left turn signal itself, and that light only has three colors instead of
I
four
understand
colors.
it. If they took,
no, I'm talking about making it
A delayed green on one side or the other.
not delayed, staggered green. Staggered green, not like a 34 and 537 where it is delayed green. I'm talking about an actual staggered green, where it's only green
we
on.
see the lane, and it's the lane, when that lane shuts down, then the other lane opens.
Correct. So Fairness and Flock will never be at the same time. That's my pitch. I
Green
understand.
advance is 10.
Yeah, I don't know.
And when that light is, when you got the arrow going this way, the other three are red.
Right.
Yes.
That's
what
what it
The other reason they can't do that, I'm sure the level of service right there on 34 coming south is probably about a level of service C, and doing that would knock it down to a level of service D, which is probably what the state will do.
No, they didn't tell us they were going to do it.
No, they said they would.
Your way, and stagger to delayed.
That's what I suggested.
That's what we pitched.
The guy said, that makes sense, but I have to send my engineers down. And that's when we got into policy 346.
Yeah, but what I mean, I don't disagree with Tom that we could definitely go to the county and ask them to contribute to
That's in the memo.
to our portion. Yeah, no, it's fine, and we did contemplate that. But it would seem to me that the fixed foot is and will be a significant problem, that the cost is relatively nominal to do that, and it's going to save people from getting hurt.
Look, if the question is, do we spend 10 or 15,000 bucks in township money, and we do it like that? Makes sense. How you do it, I think, would be probably, maybe Mayor, you and Russell, or thinks that that's in their world, stick their nose in it, and make it, anything's gotta be better than that.
Right.
Or just, that's, you know.
But I'll tell you what, 537, 34 is so bad, and I've called the county a couple times, I don't know, why they can't straighten that out down in that way.
Try going through there I've come through a couple nights at 11:30 at night. If you're coming west on 537, if you're the fourth car, you won't make the light.
That's right. And I,
If you're going west at 11:30 at night.
That's bad, because they should reverse that. But that's a different problem. But for this particular problem, which, you know, there are plenty of accidents at 537 and 34 portions, most of them are relatively
They're gonna address that with the.
minor. But that's getting fixed, hopefully, fixed by next spring or thereabouts. This one is not going to get fixed any other way.
Right.
So, which is why I stuck my nose.
Well, let me ask you a question, because and I apologize if I'm I'm the only one not getting it, but if you put a different light on there where the traffic signal for westbound traffic at that intersection on Flock failings had a left arrow and a straight arrow, and then the left arrow shut off, well, I guess you have to stop the traffic.
No, the problem is the traffic coming across Flock prevents the vehicles going.
Well, it's turning south on 30.
Correct, that's where the problem is. And then people get frustrated and pass on.
Yeah, and I've gone through that a bunch of different times. I'm just thinking that if you put an additional light in there, there must be a way that after you, if the green is well, it's probably problem is if the second car or the first car was going up, it was screwed up.
Well, let's see what the state engineers come up with. I mean, you know,
It sounds like it's money well spent, though.
I think that it'd be money well spent.
I will reach out to the state and ask them for a sample of a resolution, but I'm sure something's done already.
So maybe the mayor can take this opportunity to call the county and just tee it up that we're gonna be looking for some money from them since it's an opportune time right now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mr. Fitzgerald, may I even ask is 6A, that's the add-on.
Great, thank you. I did ask the administrator, we had a hour-and-a-half-ish meeting today on the issue of insurance. I just kind of wanted to talk about it publicly, there's no back into it, it doesn't involve a lawsuit, but we've, as I had a couple of years ago, we're delving into the insurance stuff again, because I couldn't help myself. But it was also prompted because we let our fire and first aid folks know that they ought to check and see what insurance they do or don't have, make sure that there's not operations that they're conducting here that we're not aware of, that may expose them in some way. And part of that conversation was with them today. I reiterated with them that we don't expect them how to do every single thing that they do within their operation. We can't be micromanaging what they do in their physical plant. We don't want to micromanage how they fundraise. And as a result of it, we have certain responsibilities for the joint insurance program, which is taken on. And if you recall, Mayor, I guess it's getting on to be 5 or 6 years now, somebody will go along in the tooth, we found some duplicative insurance, which is costing the town $25,000+ a year, which had gone on for nearly 15 years by my estimate, that shouldn't have been spent. And so we were able to carve that out at the right time. It was right around the time we had, unfortunately, a police officer. So it was good timing. I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we had that meeting today. I think that we allayed a lot of the fears of the volunteers appropriately. There are volunteers. We don't want them to be nervous about other things they shouldn't be. The JIF folks were here. We spent some time. Bless you. So we also identified some processes that we were on top of. Most notably, we don't really have an organized incident reporting process. So that was identified in today's meeting. So it was very productive. We were able to move forward on that. I will tell you, Mayor, that I am moving forward and checking on the insurance for other things that we do in town, most notably whether or not making sure that our JIF recovers for the fireworks, for example, and some of the things that we have on the horizon. So, Tom, we haven't talked about that yet, but that's kind of the 411 on the current insurance thing. We have significant coverages, so you all know we have coverages that exceed $5 million for third-party liability events. We have separate coverages for the physical buildings in town, including the firehouse and first aid in the event of a fire or some other catastrophe. We have covered.
You suggested we put together a package, that explains all of this incident, like incident reports. Barbara and I will handle that, and everybody will get the exact same package, and everybody will have the exact same information.
Yeah, we want to be working from the same playbook. So, and Barbara is the representative from the Joint Insurance Fund who came here today with her assistant. So she's going to work with Tom on having a procedure that's cohesive and also uniform throughout the. And quite frankly, if someone fell in front of us, the front steps of the courthouse or town hall or the firehouse, the procedure for us should be the same in terms of our coverages. So that was identified, and I think we're moving in the right direction on that. But like everything else, it just takes some time to get done. So we will have be scheduling a follow-up meeting, and at my insistence, we're going to be having a physical presence meeting where everybody has to be here again, so that each representative from each of those volunteers is handed a package of, here's the procedures, here's the coverages. So we have the $5 million in liability coverage now, we have the facility stuff, obviously we have health insurance for self-insured, so we're taking a look at all of that as well. So I don't know if there's any questions?
No, thank you for bringing that up.
I asked that on so I didn't forget what it was.
There you go, excellent. Item number 7 is administrative reports.
Mentioned previously, we scheduled the air duct cleaning in the library. We found out the company had every intention of showing up when the library was open. They've been advised that's not acceptable. It has been rescheduled now for July 30th and 31st from 8 to noon, with the library open at 1, so we will not screw up our patrons. Also, the library will be closed August 29th to September 8th property that we're doing fundraising for. Summer camp goes well. We have 225 campers enrolled. One minor injury, it was a counselor playing basketball, broke a finger, which pointed out he wears the incident report problem.
It was tough.
Yeah, it works out just fine. Mr. Thompson, I mentioned previously, Mr. Thompson has indeed come back to work on limited duty. He is the first call when I get a call from a resident. He is the one who goes out and checks out, reports back to me, and we decide what's going to be done. And he is also, at Mr. Pichel's suggestion, taking a look at software apps for vehicle maintenance for the future. Monthly first response statistics for the month of June. 64 first aid calls, 11 fire calls, 157 traffic stops, which brings us to 1,458 for the year so far. 107 traffic summonses in June, and our guys patrolled 17,343 miles in the month of June. And lastly, fire company will be selling beer at the fair. That needs to be approved by the committee by a simple motion. So move.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
And so everyone is clear, we do have insurance coverage for that. Check
Yes,
that.
indeed. Attached.
That's it for me, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve vouchers.
Mayor, thank you. We're going to just preface that one. I will tell you there's one voucher I did not sign, and that was the bill for $6,800 from the Ditmar agency. That's an insurance policy that we have been asking for the better part of 6 or 9 months, I think. Beth been asking for them to give us the actual policy. We don't know what that covers. We haven't had a policy, so we haven't made a bill. They produced the policy, I guess, in the last couple of days.
Yes.
Since I have not read the policy, I've taken delivery of not signing the voucher. I will not pay that out until we review the policy, make sure that that's not like the other redundant insurance that's not necessary. So with that one change, I would also advise everyone that of the roughly 9 million, 5.8 is payments to others to school board account. And I think there would be conflict for community and back now on Bruce, other than that.
And myself and Tina.
I'm sorry, I see that, yes.
One question, just check on Edwards Tire. There's one police tire there for $250. I know they're on a state contract.
Do you know, just tell me what page it's on?
Page 3.
I try not to memorize these. I will check it, but it may be more than one tire.
It just says one tire.
All right.
Yeah, because I know they had a state contract.
I will check that. That is a little, well, I will tell you, I will check it, but one of the problems with these, the police vehicles have pursuit rated tires on them. So it's a category, I want to say E or F, I'm not sure the exact, I gotta have they change categories. So they get a little more pricey than the usual, buy supply for your Chevy. But I will check on that.
Anything else? I will make the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo?
Yes.
Mayor Magno?
Yes, except to abstain for students.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes, to abstain from Tina. That brings us to Township Committee reports. Michael?
I handled insurance. Sports Foundation meeting last night, not last night, Monday night, it's a bad week for me. Monday night was Sports Foundation, Tuesday planning board, and we're all together tonight. Monday was Sports Foundation. I left there at 10 and 11, they were still going. But it's interesting because they had just by way of information, they had a gentleman representative from the Cub Scouts here in Colts Neck come to speak to them about integrating their resources of email lists and some of the other things. And also a discussion about I guess the first grade class of this year is particularly sparse in terms of population. And if you read the demographics, it's obviously as a result of that's the age of the children that would have otherwise been cousin of mine, the bottom fell out. So there's been a drop off, and you'll see that reverse part will kind of move through the school system, not rebounding until the last year or two. So there's more 1 and 2 year olds, but there's not very many 5, 6, 7, 8 year olds going through. Which then begs the question, the sports fields thing, they obviously have really struggled with how to correct the fields. Took a little bit of heat on the condition of some of the fields when some of the girls softball, Cedar Drive. Luckily, as we, I can explain to them from experience, my daughter played high school on that field. The boys played on Laird Road, so I'm very familiar with the North Exchange roads stay the same. So they have a little bit of growing pains on how to do stuff, but they're in very good financial condition, and I think they're engaged, but they're all very new. The most experienced person on the Sports Foundation board, which is, I want to say 17 or 18 large. It's an exceptionally large group. They need, there must be 17 or 18 because they need 9 for a quorum. Which they sometimes struggle with, but that, of course, that many voices in that many positions makes for a long meeting. But I think that they don't necessarily have a historical perspective because we're all so young, because they're kind of amassed into this a couple of years ago. So I did suggest to them that they kind of go back in time and see if some of the other folks from the Sports Foundation will come back and tell them why, for example, the bond didn't work 4 years ago, and tell them why you can only put so much sand in this much clay before it turns to concrete when it rains in the sports field. So I think they took that suggestion well. And I think that, Tom, you might have to just stick your nose in with Jeff, who's the president of that organization now, just to make sure that the communication conduit is there. You notice that today with the insurance thing is we've lost, with the advent of email and texting, as soon as somebody gets your cell phone number, including the director of public works or the administrator or a committee person, a coach on the field on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock will think nothing of it, and it's not a knock, but they'll text a committee person or a public works director at 8:02 if the field isn't in condition, and then we lose complete track of. Did you see my phone? Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Unfortunately, it makes it very, very difficult. So we need to get, and I'm not sure what the solution is in this day and age of they used to have telephone chains where I call 2 people and they call 2 people and everybody goes to snow day. But I think that we need to go back to something like that so that there's not, I don't want to take phone calls, and I know you don't, Mayor, but the problem is that it's an extreme inefficiency doing that, because if the call is to you, then you have to call somebody to call somebody to call somebody. There's got to be a better way to get that done. And we notice the same thing with insurance, because we had some of our folks in the volunteer organizations calling the JIF directly and getting great answers to a different question, and then creating problems. So I don't know what the solution is, but it was raised by the Sports Foundation, and I think we can address it at some point. So I bring that back to all of you. Planning board was last night. A couple of interesting things. I think we need to look at I don't know whether it's long-range planning, but we're struggling right now with an application that's on Lakeside. 537 in Lakeside. So orientation, if you're about to go to the eastern part of town, you're out by the process, and on the left-hand side there's a street that really doesn't look like there's much down there, but of course Galloping Hills development is back there. And then PRC did a development on this right-hand side called Stone something, I think, 5 or 6 houses that's on the right before you get to Privet Lane, and then Privet Lane goes through. So that's section.
All that's in there, all the big houses off the wall.
Yes, they're all Privet, correct. So when up till 2004, all those developments that were done, there was no scenic corridor requirement. Which tries to preserve 150 feet back from the roadway to obviously try to keep, cul-de-sac as bucolic as we can in its look. But this development happens to be 17 acres. The 17 acres fronts on 537. If you're very familiar with it, on the west side of the Lakeside 537 intersection, there's a blue farmhouse that's set back pretty far off the property. Off the street rather. That's actually a 3-acre piece that's carved out of a total of 20 acres. So the 17 acres actually wraps around that 3-acre piece. So it fronts on 537 a couple hundred feet, and then it wraps around to Lakeside and goes a couple hundred feet. And I'm only boring you with these details because then in 2004, the township passed the scenic corridor ordinance, and because of the size of the road and the number of houses that are in there, Lakeside was a scenic corridor designation. Everything else on Lakeside is developed all the way back to the Navy right away. So now this 150-foot scenic corridor will be placed on a couple hundred feet on this piece of property. The developer is asking for a variance to not have to do that 150-foot buffer scenic corridor. Now, people on the planning board, there was no decision made last night. We also have a 75-foot conservation easement back off the street, which is a good protection. But there's some places where some of these things don't really apply. But the bigger question, and I have to admit I've been beating this drum a little bit maybe more than I should, is that if the planning board is inclined to say that there should be a 75-foot setback buffer along Lakeside to preserve, some areas so that it keeps the look that we want along there. There's two houses that are being created as conforming lots that would have very, very small backyards, again putting us in that position where we're going to have somebody who's going to buy a house, put up a fairly large house on a 2-acre piece of property, and show up in front of us saying, I didn't know I couldn't put a pool in. And so we find ourselves very often, talking to or looking at developers who are going to hack it up and sell and leaving us with the residents who want to do things, whether it's an accessory structure in what's a technicality is because it backs up to Lakeside at their backyard. It's still a front yard technically. So you can't do it. You couldn't put a shed up in the backyard or a cabana or a pool house or anything else because they have two front yards, one on the newly created cul-de-sac and one on Lakeside Drive. So I don't know, but maybe
It's a longer time issue.
It's a longer
issue. I just have to, it was brought to my attention, and I have to track down the right ordinance that addresses that and see if it can be amended in such a way as to deal with the issue that you maybe bring up without compromising the intent of the
and it's all well intended. The problem is it all starts as a result of our bonus lot provision because it really is. They come in and show this bizarro conforming 6-lot subdivision on 17 acres, where one lot has a piece over here. I was joking that looked like the element of Idaho that you couldn't have gotten to because they would keep a 1-foot strip along the property line and the cul-de-sac to connect the two of them. I don't think the people who bought the property even know it was theirs because it's actually behind someone else's house. But because they've created 6 conforming lots under our ordinance, they then get actually a total of 8 houses because they get a bonus. They can build 7 houses on that piece of property, and they can do the COA obligation of the extra house off-site. So they can buy or rehab a house somewhere else. They pay the town a fairly small amount of money for the difficulties that were created of under $100,000 for the COA contribution, and then they have this 7-lot subdivision that they're coming before the planning board saying, here's what we want to do, but these people are going to put backyards. So, I think that we need to address it because one of the things we always struggle with is the person who comes in and says they didn't know about the problem. We tell the developers they should have to do something about the problem, and yet we continue to grant these variances in these plans.
Yeah, it's a practical problem.
Well, that's part of the problem, but the problem is they can come in for 5 lots instead of trying to conform it. They want as many as they can possibly
Yeah,
get.
but those lots, the lots with the quote-unquote 2 front yards are still going to be the problem. I think that's really the problem.
The one's coming off, from what I remember, one's coming off right off 507 through the scenic corridor.
But it's not just on this particular subdivision. It's been on other subdivisions. I've heard it.
I'd like to be around on 3 front streets.
So I've heard loans and groans about it in the past, and then I hear it again, and eventually, we'll take a hard look at it,
But if we put the scenic corridor in, wouldn't that take away the front yard on the side?
No, it does not.
It does. It's still technically considered a front yard. In one of the lots, because the cul-de-sac goes around it, it actually has 3 of the 4 sides of the house are front yard, technically. And
So to take away those impractical creations of ordinance, that's really the trick, is to take away, I mean, obviously, nobody has 3 front yards in practicality, but technically they have 3 front yards.
You go over to mine, Brook, there's 2 houses in Baltimore, they've got 3 front yards.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one on
No, they're
300, they got 3 front
But the
yards.
practical problem that creates is not really, it's not really, I hate to use the word fair, but it's not really fair to the prospective property owner, because they're really not getting anything extra by having 3 front lots. In fact, they're losing. And why? I mean, what's the ultimate goal? What do we as a municipality get out of it? By taking away their ability to build an outbuilding or to build a pool in the backyard, we get nothing out of that. It does nothing for us.
But see, I don't get that far. Here's where I struggle, and I agree with you, I 100% agree with you, because what we don't want is, we don't want sheds in the front yard. So if it's their side yard or their side yard, their
Right.
backyard, technically front yard, if you drive by and see a shed, that's not what you want to see. But I want to take a bigger step back and say, where do we tie up in this whole bonus lot stuff anyway?
No, that's
Because the reality is, they're coming in and saying, here's your ordinance, Colts Neck. The ordinance says if I can show you 6 conforming lots, I get 8. That's what the ordinance says. Here's the map for 6 conforming lots, as bizarre as they are. So, you don't want that. We don't want that. So, give me my 8. And they come in with a plan that shows 7 lots, and they're going to do the co-op off-site somewhere, which maybe is perfectly legal and control, and really under our control in terms of where it's done and how it's done. But then the plan they come in with shows a house with 3 front yards. And the developer's going to sell it to somebody who's going to build a 6,200 square foot house on 2 acres, and somebody's going to pay 144, and the family's going to move in, and they're going to decide they want to swing set in the backyard, but they can't. And then it's right back in our lap. So why? I had this conversation. I mean, Deputy Mayor Orko explained to me the whole bonus lot, the whole farm preservation thing, but I've seen, in my opinion, that Big M Farm is bastardizing that program too.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of
Time
2-acre lots.
to relook at that.
Well, go back to
where we did it back then and what we have now.
I'm just suggesting that instead of trying to rearrange the Rubik's Cube from where we find it,
Right.
let's go back and find out how was it when it first started and why did we buy it?
Yeah, I'm just not sure that would be the problem. I think you may still wind up with the same problem. Maybe not on as great a scale, but I think you can still wind up with the same problem.
Well, we may, or it may just be that they go in there and have 6, the variance you grant in other places, if somebody comes in with a 6-lot subdivision that's conforming, but it has bizarre lot lines, you grant the variances to make the lot lines more sensible at 6 lots. You don't give bonuses for screwing things up further and giving you more problems. So that's, I just want to go back to the beginning on those things. And I know you handle long-range planning and you see things with an eye, so good luck.
No, I see the problem. I know the problem. I just, in a town where we don't have a tremendous amount of development, it's a nagging problem as opposed to a festering wound. So, yes.
But it's a nagging problem where we right now have, yes, I would have already spoken long enough. Potential attorneys kind of telling me I've been on long enough. And he's right, but.
We'll talk about it.
But I just want to, consider Overbrook, consider this 7-lot subdivision, consider there's probably Esposito's on the table on 537. You have 30 or 40 lots that are either approved or about to be approved in this town, which will be built out, which are going to be 15 of the 30 are going to be problems when you can't do a pool or front yard or backyard.
So we had that Overbrook because we stated that someone had to be notified that they weren't going to get formalized assessment even though they own 15 acres because it's swamp. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, the problem is there's no good ground left in West Side. We're working on all the hard ground that's left. With all these restrictions and all these other things, and it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher.
But that's the time to revisit it from the beginning, because the intent of those bonuses may not be there anymore.
Right.
So
Let's
it's
talk about it.
Sorry.
Got it.
Anything else?
You really want anything else?
No.
No, we're good. Russell?
The only thing I have is really not a committee report per se, but something that I've been working on with our administrator. One of the projects that I started on last year had to do with abandoned properties in town. We enacted an ordinance consistent with state law that allows us to take some action against abandoned properties. Kind of a pet peeve of mine, just goes me to no end that these properties sit abandoned interminably with little or no action being taken by the mortgagee or the homeowner, and they create a whole host of issues, from trespassers to fire hazards to just all around. Yeah, aesthetically, they're horrible. So I'm pleased to report that our current business administrator has taken the first step that's permitted by our ordinance to put the homeowners and the mortgagees on notice, consistent with the ordinance and state statute, that our houses are being deemed abandoned, and they now have, was it 30 days, Tom, to,
Yes.
30 days to respond and to contest, and if they do not contest, then we move on to the second step, which I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but we will continue to pursue these abandoned properties and avail ourselves of the remedies to get them in a state where they're either occupied or gone, one or the other. That's the goal. So whatever we can do, that's what we're going to do. But thanks to Mr. Antis for getting that to motion.
Thank you. Tom?
Not really anything. I got a planning board last night and I didn't do farmland on.
Thank you. I have a few things. We have a new superintendent of our school district, Mary Jane Garibay, so I'm excited. I'm actually meeting with her. She's been with the school district for 2 years as director of curriculum, has been promoted to superintendent, so I'm meeting with her next week. We know each other, but not as well as I need to know the superintendent. So we'll be opening those lines of communications. We spoke a little about the fair. Remember, it's right around the corner, August 20th and 23rd. We're always looking for some help with some committees, so if yourself or somebody you know would like to help, just have them see me. I also would like my fellow committeemen's agreement with, I'm passing around a picture of the newest box that was placed probably sometime in the last 24 hours that we're all familiar with clothing boxes for donations. So, for instance, the one in each firehouse has been there since September, or a little after September 2001. So they're Red Cross. So obviously we know the agency, we asked them to put it there, we know that they're there, we know it's maintained. Since then I've watched these boxes being placed all over the place. This one that you won't be able to miss it, it's real yellow. It's behind DD's or in the back of the Clipper Shop, that little strip shopping center there where DD's is. It's almost on Virgin's Way. They could have gotten it closer. And it just says donation clothing, shoes and toys, donation relief. So I don't know who donation relief is, nor do they have permission to put it there. So we went down this road years ago, and there was, we just didn't finalize it, but I would like permission from you to ask our clerk to gather some ordinances or resolutions from other towns, so we can take a look at them and enact it. So, by the way, there's an 800 number on here. I've called it like 6 times, nobody's answering, so I would just like us to have a law that we can remove those.
Was that placed there with the permission of the property?
I don't know, I have to call him to him, but I'm going to say no.
Most of the
Well,
time.
then he has the right to have it removed.
True, and that's the first thing I'm going to ask to speed this one up. But I would like something, so if it's on our public land or somewhere where we can't get that done as quickly, it's just.
If it becomes a trespass, we have the right to remove it. If somebody puts something on our property without permission, it's a trespass, we have the right to remove it. And we don't need any additional law.
I know Beth has some background in this from some of her experience. So.
Number one firehouse campaign put their box over here. I don't think it's a Salvation Army.
What happens with, there's some that say actually Cold Snake Police Department, and there's some that say Cold Snake Fire Department. That is a fundraising activity that was approved for those organizations to do that. What I would like to do as we gather some more information is to see if they're still, how they're doing with that. Is anybody using it? Is anybody not using it? Why I'm all for people donating used items to appropriate charities. I'm not for these boxes. There's got to be 12 of them around town.
A couple suggestions.
Just one of your places, I think.
There is, it's, again, I can tell you that the owner there did not give permission there, and nor have I seen one person use it. So I just wonder, and I'll call the number again dozens of times, and there's nobody answering. So I just want it out.
I will tell you two things, of what I know. Number one is, that is a very, very big business. And those clothes don't go to charity.
No, they get shredded.
They get shredded, and they reclaim the wool and the cotton and the other things, and it's sold usually overseas, something else. It just goes into a grinder, and then it's recycled into other filler or fabric or mattress filler. So that's obviously a problem, but I'm not sure why we need an ordinance to prohibit something like this. I can't imagine these things are permitted as part of the original grant of any planning approval for the town in the first place. So the owner should be violated for having that thing on their property because when they come before the planning board, they have obviously impervious coverage issues, what structures are going on the property, where's the dumpster going to be, and when we tell them they got to fence other stuff, this is not something that's permitted. We don't have to get to prohibiting it, I don't think.
But I want permission, or I want to make sure that if we remove something, we don't get.
The onus would be on the owner of the property.
Violate the owner of the property.
Okay, because we're never going to find this owner.
No,
You
violate
take
the
them.
owner. Who owns the strip mall deeds?
It's Hanson, right?
No, he sold it.
Oh, then I don't know who it is.
Am I wrong?
Who it is.
It may not be considered structure because it's temporary. It's not a permanent.
But we have rules on that too.
Beth,
We got, all dumpsters are supposed to be in a contained area. It's a dumpster.
Beth has some experience in this from her training.
There is a state law that all collection boxes must be licensed by the municipality. We have not done that yet. However,
We need an ordinance for that?
I don't know, I believe so. There have been ordinances that I've gotten samples of from past years. So I will research it, I'll get the league's ordinance on it, but yes, there should be licensing fees.
There you go.
So
And that's
I
a,
think
maybe a
that-
better way to control it, and then there must be something in there that will say, if it's not licensed, we have the right to remove it.
Well, yeah, that, in fact, we have to see who it benefits.
Let me ask you a question though, so for a $3 license, you want that crap in town? I don't.
It'll be 100,
Well, you don't get licensing, is you're getting out license fees. This is like the motion picture fee. You want to film a real housewives of Goldstein, I don't. You don't want to do a license fee to get them so that they can put them in here, you want to keep them out.
Let's look for some samples.
How restrictive it can be.
We'll get it, so we'll take a look at it and see what we can do. In the meantime, I will, do you know the owner of that? I don't know.
I guess,
If you just find the owner of that wall, that property, and I will call them, make sure it's not his or hers. So that would be the first thing, and then move it, and ask him if he can move it first.
They get used a lot more, they still get used all the time, so people don't want to see their neighbors, seeing them done all this stuff.
He is the right cost since it's been there in the firehouse, so that works out well. And it's the right cost, which is great. Okay, thank you for that. I have some news about our state highway 34 in the township of Coltsnet. So your township committee has for years continued to work with the DOT to have 34 better maintained, if you will. So we had a meeting that actually reported at a township committee that Administrator Antis and I were impressed with the DOT meeting when they came here and said they were going to resurface Route 34 from end to end, and actually our neighbors in Homedale and Marlboro in addition, and that was going to happen next year. We were grateful for that, but we did bring up some of our concerns, as many of the residents know in town that have been here for a while. One of the reasons 34 is the way that it is that underneath the asphalt is cement. That's the original Navy Road, if you will. So as you, next time you're on there, just really pay attention to a bump every 20 feet. And that's just a cut in the cement that the asphalt never really sticks to. So I got a call from DOT just a few days ago, and I want to give you some of the bullet points that they shared with me. Also, you may have seen over the past week or so, there's a tremendous amount of marks with spray paint on Route 34, and this is why.
Big sign.
And a big sign, yes.
that hasn't started yet.
And that sign's gonna be there for a while, I'll share that with you. From the DOT, what was originally planned to be a simple resurfacing of Route 34 through Colts Neck, Homedale, and Marlboro has now been changed to a full reconstruction of the same roadway. So instead of milling and resurfacing it, they're going to remove the road and put a new road in. And that means remove the cement as well. So what that does is this change increases the life expectancy of the new asphalt from 4 years to 20 years. This project will be funded with federal dollars, and since the Federal Highway Administration is already involved due to the planned resurfacing, now is the best time to get them involved. Recognizing that the current condition of Route 34 is less than optimal, that's their word by the way, the department will begin immediately addressing every section of the road through Colts Neck Township. Many of the more severely deteriorated sections will receive a full mill and pave, where the top level of asphalt will be removed and replaced with a new layer of asphalt. The areas that will not be milled will receive spot treatments to correct any issues, as well as help preserve the pavement until the reconstruction. All in all, a total of $1.5 million of paving and repair work will be done between, and then they give me the mile markers, 13.2 and 26.5, by the fall of 2015 to aid drivability and increase safety. Speaking with my contact with the DOT, the end of fall is the official press release. The markings on the road, the blinking sign, is a good indication that things are going to be beginning to move quickly, which I'm happy about. I also asked if at all possible could they do the work at night, and that is in the contract. Some of the smaller ones may be done during the day, but the milling and repaving will be done in the evening time. So I'm excited about this. I think this is the right thing on many levels. I am also in contact with the major utilities in Monmouth County to see, and I've already met with New Jersey Natural Gas. I'll be meeting with JCP&L to see if they want to take advantage of any of their infrastructure during a project that's this large. And New Jersey Natural Gas already has shown some interest in some things. Just makes sense why it's all torn up. I would love, and I have not met with JCP&L, but I would love to see if there's a possibility of burning anything while that's opened up. I would like to see that. But that's just my wish. I'm not sure where that's going to go. So that's where we're at on 34. Speaking of New Jersey Natural Gas, we have our senator here, an attorney, and I'm going to be asking him to share with me what he knows in Oceanport about what's known as blanket permitting for New Jersey Natural Gas to help, because apparently it's happening, or starting to happen in Oceanport, where the permitting process becomes more kind of lumped together to expedite citizens' requests for gas work. So, I want to talk to you about that.
She told me before we got here.
Just came to mind when I was talking about this. I gave myself a note. I don't need anything right now.
Oh.
No, nothing right now. Just saying that that's something that I'd like for you and the committee to know that that's something that I want to look at, see how it works. How it was described to me is that it will definitely benefit the residents and businesses that need work, and it just gets done a little fast.
I think you'll find out that it benefits most of New Jersey Natural Gas.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure they wouldn't be asking for it if it did.
Because they go in and do their stuff at the street and in the house without having to come back 3 times to pay the permit fees.
Right.
So just be careful.
And that's why I just want to start that discussion there.
It is, rather than an individual road opening permit for 17 different individuals, they will take out a bulk permit. They will give you the dimensions. So it's not like you sign off and then you go down the road, there's a hole 20 feet by 40 feet. All of these opening and permits guarantee specific dimensions. So if there's anything other, then they would have to come back in. You know, shopping in bulk, for lack of a better word. And it helps the homeowner, because if they need something, the permit's already been pulled. Really that simple.
So we'll continue to look at that. I did show my, I think that when they open the road, the paving isn't done very well. And I know we've talked about that too, should we change our ordinance to make it infrared paving instead of?
Everybody does.
Ridiculous, they have the equipment, they ought to be doing it, they just don't want to do it, it's more expensive for them.
Right. So I'd like us to,
I'll make another suggestion. One of the things that I've been passing in another life is, I think by ordinance, you could put a moratorium on openings after paving gets done.
We have,
So, we do have here,
No, I wouldn't should know, I have that.
5 years?
I had that.
Yeah, I have it.
Well, as you're doing 34, let all these folks know that there's a, they're in there doing it, do it now or keep your mouth shut. And then if you have those, when we do paving, we pave streets, it's ridiculous because what happens is invariably someone cuts a hole in it, 15 minutes after it's paved, and that's invariably where the first deterioration happens. But we don't have those moratoriums when we ought to.
you can also do it for during the season period, like when you're having the winter time.
Right.
I know they say you can't open up the road. It doesn't work unless it's an emergency. Because you can't fix the problem in the cold weather.
The plant's closed a week before Christmas, so
Right.
you can prohibit any road opening until we open in the
That's
spring.
correct.
But even then, when they do.
you could pull that ordinance for us and we'll take a look at that as well.
Yes, and also the new road applications, the street opening permit applications are being run through Glen Burnie.
Okay.
And Glenn is advising on the age of the street, the cut desired, the way to get into what they're how to proceed with it and how we want the road to be finished when everything is done. So that's being written right on the approval for the permit, or there have been times when it was like, no, there will be no cut because this street has been. So there have been instances in the last month or two.
Excellent. Okay. Good, that's all I have. So comments from the public. Jeff?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Quick question, and really, I guess anyone sitting up there can answer the question, including the town administrator, the deputy town administrator, or town attorney for that matter. But at the June 10th of 2015, I made a comment that was censored, and then I protested that censorship and asked my protest to be officially recorded on the minutes, and it was not recorded on the approved minutes of June 10th. Can anyone explain why that somehow got missed?
No, I was here the night that they talked about. Wasn't here the night the minutes were approved. But minutes don't have to be verbatim, I will tell you that. I'm just being generic. Minutes don't have to be verbatim. Minutes are only to give the general as what has been discussed, and they don't have to be verbatim. But I was not here at the night the minutes were approved, so I can only answer you generically, not specifically.
I do understand that they do not have to be verbatim, but to not record a single word of my protest, though you can record and approve the censorship and add in personal attacks, but you don't record anything of the censorship and my protest of that I specifically asked to be added onto the minutes. You guys don't have to all speak at once.
You don't have to speak at all.
I know. And I know you guys are selective in what questions you like to answer and not answer, but I'm just thought this was a very basic and simple one here. Okay, I guess that's the answer. You guys don't know. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Diane.
I like the idea of doing a reconfiguration of that traffic light at Fairlights and 34. But please consider, while you're doing the road repair, that third east-west traffic corridor that you have in town, which is Laird Road. And perhaps consider some minor adjustment in that light, because the traffic is starting to build in that area as people zig and zag in and out to find the quickest way to places. Another comment, I'd like to thank you all for your dedication and your talent to this town, and I implored your restraint at some comments. Thank you.
Elaine?
Yes, I'd like to thank Mr. Antis for all his hard work. He's really, really done a lot, and he's so easy to talk to when you have a problem. Second comment I have, a couple of months ago, you revisited doing the roads, and we were talking about curbs and non-curbing, and you love curbs. And I went through Bucks Mill Road, and certain sections have curbs, others don't. And there was something curious about the curbed area. It looked very unsightly and messy because the weeds grow between the curb and the macadam. But the macadam and the non-curbing was cut really smooth, and it looked very neat and clean. So, as it was saving thing, I think we should do away with curbs. I mean, go and look and, check and see. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Mike?
A couple things. First, observation on the use of properties being raised or affected for first aid drills and police drills. That's a great idea. I know it's in use in some townships. The township that was involved with previously used that. They put a process in place in the planning board that any time a raise was going to be knocked down and rebuild was going to be put in place. They asked the applicant to allow services to come in and use it for training. So I think that's a great process to make normal standard operating procedure. And then secondly, an observation as well, during the finance meetings back in the spring when the budget was being developed, it was mentioned that an IT subcommittee may be formed. Has that gotten any traction or moving forward? I ask because I've seen the vouchers that the new server has been put in place for the finance department as well as the computers for the police department. And again, I encourage a strategy because then you're going to put pieces together that will work together more seamlessly and last longer, et cetera. It helps streamline the process as well.
The answer is yes and no. So yes is that we're continuing to talk about it. No, the major push for that is really going to be the next administrator. So that's right in our interview process, questions and discussions to make sure that the person that we get has a strong background in that systems approach that you talked about.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Jeff?
Yeah, just really quick, I just want to make it, if you could add this to the record, and maybe you guys won't, but please record my protest. I'm asking you again to record my protest in the official minutes. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, I will go to Resolution 2015-90, executive sessions. Motion for that?
Move.
Roll call. All in favor? Aye.
Favor, opposed?